Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the MacBook Pros once again. We are doing this because recently my MacBook Pro broke down again. In the 1 year that I have owned the MacBook Pro, it has broken down a total of 2 times. And it really got me thinking, like, are MacBook Pros more vulnerable nowadays? I feel really sad that I have to address this once again because I love the Mac, I love Apple, and without a doubt, I would always recommend Apple macOS to people because it's just like how intuitive and how much I love this whole macOS system. And that's why in this video, I want to share with you guys my experience with the problems and what I found helped me and a few learning points that I learned. This is actually the 16-inch MacBook Pro. If you guys have followed my story, I bought the 16-inch last December, and within the first few days that I got it, it actually broke down and Apple had sent me a replacement and I thought everything was fine. So 8 months later, a random August morning, I was using my laptop unplugged until about like 5%, and you know, the Mac would tell you that, hey, your laptop's gonna shut down if you don't plug it into a charger. And so I just, okay, fine, I'm just gonna charge you up. And when I plug it in, I thought that it would charge, but it didn't charge. So I thought it was a charging brick or the wire that was spoiled, because why would my Mac break down all of a sudden, right? So I tested the charging brick on other devices. It worked fine. All that was not fine was this MacBook Pro. Called Apple, brought it down to the Apple Store. They did some resets like SMC, PRAM resets, as well as some diagnostics, and it turns out that the computer was fine, and they even managed to charge it up to like 7%. But suddenly, like after more couple of tests, the Mac wouldn't charge up, and it turns out that the charging brick that he was using to charge my MacBook Pro was fried. In conclusion, I think my MacBook fried that charging brick. Eventually, this wouldn't charge up anymore, and he was telling me I have to change my logic board, which means that essentially all the data on my MacBook Pro would be erased, and I did not have any backup because I had no time to back this up. And my latest backup was like in July. I gave Apple my hard drive and told them to just help me try your best to do a backup before you guys change out the logic board. And nope, Apple called me the next day and told me that it wasn't possible. They're just gonna go ahead and change the logic board. So I was like, okay, fine. I mean, I have no choice, right? The good thing is they managed to fix my laptop within 6 days, and everything turned out fine. It was working, it could turn on, it could charge. But when I started using this on heavy processing stuff, there was a weird high-pitch whirring fan noise in the computer, and it was super disturbing. Like, I am so used to how loud the fans can get, but it's mostly low pitch, very bassy, and even though it's loud, it's bearable. But like the high pitch sound just sounds weird, and here's a footage of it. Very annoying, especially if you're watching a movie or you're like playing some sounds and you have that high-pitched sound. It's just no good. And so I was kind of pissed-ish. I was already going without my Mac for about 6-7 days as a creator. This is my main driver, and it was super disturbing in my whole workflow to have my Mac constantly taken away from me. So I brought it back to the Apple Store. They told me sorry, blah 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 blah, that they're trying to fix it ASAP, and they managed to give me this within 2 days. So yep, altogether in August itself, my Mac broke down twice. The first time was the logic board that spoiled, and the second time was the fans. I just feel so frustrated. Thankfully, this is still under the 1-year warranty Apple Care, so I didn't have to pay the $1,000 for the logic board repair or the fan repair. This brings me to my learning points that I hope that can help some of you. I lost most of my data because I don't back up on a daily basis. I always thought that, you know, Macs are pretty reliable generally. I previously owned the A2011 MacBook Air. Throughout the 6 years that I was using it, there were no issues, and my 2016 MacBook Pro was totally fine. Only the keyboard had some issues. But when it came to this 16-inch MacBook Pro, there were issues, and point is, I did not expect this to break down at all. So I wasn't too careful about my backups. So now what I'm doing is every single night before I go to bed, I would use Time Machine to back up all my stuff. And the second thing I realized is that MacBook Pros may have become more vulnerable nowadays. I don't know what you guys may have experienced. Is this a me thing? And this brings me to my second point, that AppleCare is super important nowadays. And it is super duper important to buy AppleCare to extend the warranty to 3 years instead of just the 1-year warranty that comes with your Mac. AppleCare Plus would cost about $400 to $500 is so worth it because it covers all your repairs that might actually happen to the MacBook Pro over the next 3 years. The thing is, you can only get AppleCare Plus within the first 30 to 60 days. So I have already passed that 30-60 days threshold. Now all I can do is to find some third-party retailer to buy AppleCare, which actually covers slightly lesser than the AppleCare Plus package. But getting AppleCare is better than not having AppleCare at all. Imagine if this breaks down 2 or 3 more times. After the 1-year warranty, I would have to pay like $1,000 to $2,000 to fix this. And I am quite a heavy user of the Mac, so I think it's pretty worth it to get AppleCare. And this brings me to the third thing, which is kind of like how Apple's ecosystem sort of saved itself from the faulty Macs. So with the Apple ecosystem and iCloud, how I managed to survive without this MacBook Pro was because of all of that. So thankfully, I could use my mom's MacBook Pro 15-inch as a backup computer. All I had to do was to create a new user account on her computer, sign in with my Apple ID, and everything on my iCloud, like notes, everything on my desktop, iCloud Drive, contacts, email would automatically be synced onto this MacBook Pro. These are all the important things that I use every single day, and to have them sync automatically was a peace of mind and ease. It definitely saved me a lot of time. I don't think we would have been able to do that in the past, where everything sits on the computer itself instead of the cloud. So thank you for the invention of the cloud, making our lives so much easier in case the computer dies. So the question is, are MacBook Pros becoming more and more vulnerable today? I honestly hope not, because I love the system, I love the hardware. It's a very, very beautiful piece of computer. I just hope that you are okay now, before I start pushing you to the max again. I don't think there's an answer to making these MacBooks stronger, and I have no idea why it keeps breaking down, because Apple didn't tell me anything. They just told me that the logic board was spoiled. So if Apple doesn't even know what went wrong or what caused this problem, I have no idea either. I hope that these are not vulnerable as my friends and I joke that they are. Because this machine is a beast, it still performs excellently. You can even game on this. But I'm gonna continue monitoring this, and I'll update you guys if fingers crossed, any more things happen. To those of you who are thinking of getting a Mac or already own a Mac, get AppleCare backup super often. Don't ever think that things like this wouldn't happen to you, because I always thought so, and I lost a lot of data. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay maintained cheery. Goodbye.